Why don't we rent a video tonight?
Yeah, can we please?
On a weeknight?
Yeah, come on, Mom. It's okay.
Sure. Come on. Let's throw caution to the wind.
Put a little weekend in your week. Rent a video.
Hello everyone, welcome to Vericon Video, a weekly show where we relive forgotten and unforgettable movies that once lined the shelves of video stores everywhere. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Joseph. And before we begin, Brandon and I both felt it imperative to express our deepest sympathies to those who were greatly affected by Hurricane Florence. We've certainly felt the impact here, and we know that many have lost their properties and homes from this disaster, and some have also lost their lives. We feel it is our duty, as those who are fortunate enough to have avoided such loss during the storm, to help those in need. If you happen to live in North Carolina, organizations such as the Salvation Army and American Red Cross have plenty of service opportunities along the eastern areas that were affected. All you have to do is to call or go online to see which volunteering opportunity is best for you. And now, on with the show.
Here's the keys to an immaculate red and white 1958 Plymouth Fury. But you won't need them to cruise or run down those who have wronged you. She's a hot ride with a black heart, and if you treat her well, she'll love you until you die. Get ready to fire all cylinders to some 50s rock and roll and the green glow of her instrument panel. Today we're talking John Carpenter's adaptation of Stephen King's best-selling novel about a car with a taste for pimply bookworms, vengeance, and blood. It's 1983's Christine, and we've got an insane love triangle for you in today's episode, so grab a bottle of Texas Driver and sit back, relax, and welcome.
Welcome to the Cafe 80s, where it's always morning in America, even in the afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have the only gun on board. Welcome to Con Air.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Okay, good evening, America, and welcome aboard Apollo 13.
I'm so glad you could come. This is going to be such an exciting day. I hope you're enjoying it. I think you will.
17-year-old Arnie Cunningham lands his eyes on a rust bucket of a classic car dying away in the weeds on his way home from school with his best friend Dennis Gilder, and falls in love. He becomes fixated on restoring this car, Christine, to her prime, and in the process he undergoes some changes of his own. And when a group of bullies decide to demolish his new ride and threaten his life, they start dropping like flies in freak automotive accidents, leaving Dennis and Arnie's new crush, Lee, to suspect that Christine may have a life of her own, and she might be a little jealous, protective, maybe even murderous. So Joseph, does your car have a name?
Yes, actually, its name is Boaz, B-O-A-Z, and you're probably wondering how I got that name, right?
I am. Please tell.
Well, I went on the internet because I was like, all right, well, I'm getting a Mustang, so it's it's going to be fast, it's going to be swift, so some of those definitions, and along those lines, I looked on the internet for some horse names, right, because of the Mustang. And I came across in the alphabetical order it was in the word Boaz. And I was like, well, that's interesting. You don't see that a lot. And looked up what Boaz meant. And apparently in Hebrew, it means fast and swift. So, I was like, I need to get on this. So
that's awesome.
And it's even on the license plate in the back too. So
it's I like that because it's not a very conventional name. Like you don't really hear that very often.
Right.
My car doesn't really have a name. I sometimes call her the Gray Ghost.
Oh, really?
If I need to refer to her in some way. My last car, I just called it POS because it was a piece of shit that I wish could have regenerated many, many times.
Sometimes you just have to be honest about things, and not everybody can be Christine. So
true, that's very true. My first car, since Christine was Arnie's first car, mine was a 1990 Nissan 240 SX.
Wow,
it was a sporty little thing. It was a hand-me-down from my mother. I got it when I got my driver's license, but it was very low to the ground. So when you were sitting in the seat, it's almost like you're laying down.
Wow. Wow.
And so if you were going over a speed bump, like, you might total it.
Oh, man.
And it had the darkest tint on the windows that I've ever seen. It was Christine-like tint.
Really?
Like when Christine's in kill mode and the windows are blacked out, that's what...
Wow.
I had to roll the windows down in order to see out of them at night.
Wow.
I got pulled
That's
over
crazy.
many times.
Oh, the suspicion is real.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. I do miss that little car. So, yeah, let's move on to some background, some context on Christine. Christine stars Keith Gordon, John Stockwell, Alexander Paul, William Ostrander, and Harry Dean Stanton. Oh, and also Robert Prosky, who's fantastic in this.
Beautiful.
Directed by John Carpenter. He also does the music in association with his longtime collaborator, Alan Howarth. I hope I'm saying that right. Stephen King had been popular for probably not even 10 years at this point.
He was he wasn't even in his prime yet. He was just starting out. Everything coming to life. I mean, this was right when he started into Hollywood production. Yeah,
he his first book, Carrie, came out in 1974. So this is about 10 years before Christine came along. But in those 10 years, he catapulted into the highest point of popularity. Yeah, Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, this collection of short stories, Night Shift, and he was just on a roll. All of his earlier stuff is really, really excellent. So he was kind of at the peak of his popularity in the early 80s, such at the time that the film went in production, before the book was even published. The special effects in this movie, I think, are particularly good because they're practical visual effects. And there's not many effects other than the car regenerating itself.
And I think even the car regenerating was beautifully done. I mean, just all around in the way they showed transitions with the animations. For 1983, I think that was beautiful. It was just beautifully done.
And it was very innovative how they did it. They had these like hydraulic pumps hooked up to these like stunt double Furies or stunt double Christines that were made out of plastic, so that when these pumps were attached to cables, they were attached to the car's bodywork, and then when they compressed, they would suck the panels inward. And footage of that crumpling was then reversed, giving that look that the car was putting itself back together.
Brilliance.
So, I mean, at times you can tell it's reversed footage, but just the way that they edit all that together, it looks very, very good.
Yes. Very realistic, even.
Absolutely. Yeah, because there's no traditional animation. This was before CGI.
Exactly.
Or actually, CGI is just now kind of becoming a thing.
Right.
So the number on how many Christines there were, it varies a little bit depending on the source, but it's estimated there's between 20 and 28 Plymouth Furies that were used in the making of this movie. And all but 2 were destroyed.
Wow.
They didn't actually use all real Plymouth Furies. They used... I think it was Belvedere's that had the same kind of body style, but so they would just kind of rework the appearance so that it looked like a Fury. Because the Plymouth Fury actually only came in one stock color. It was the ivory with this gold detailing, gold instead of chrome. So Christine is the only like red and white one that we know of to come off the assembly line. And in the book, we learned that it was custom ordered from the plant in 1957 in that kind of fire engine red and white chrome and all that sort of thing.
Right.
It's a beautiful car.
It really is. I mean, the color of the red is captivating.
The color of passion.
Yes, yes. I think maybe not. That was what John Carpenter was going for with that kind of color. Mm-hmm. Stephen King too. But I mean, I just think that the way Carpenter used that in the assembly line. Mm-hmm. And just used that red really brought it out of, like you said, like passion.
Yeah, it really. Maybe it's the Mandela effect, but when I see Christine, it's become so iconic for me that even if I see a classic car on the road, I think of Christine. And I just spent a long time in the car this week, and when I was driving at night, there would be some jagoff behind me with their brights on, and all I could think about, it's Christine. Christine's coming out.
Yeah.
It's going to run me down.
All of a sudden you hear a bunch of synthesizers in your brain, you know?
Oh, man.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I always think about that. And I always think about this movie whenever I hear 50s rock and roll.
Oh,
I hear Little Richard or something. My mind always goes back to Christine.
And I think the choice of music that they used as well.
Yeah.
Not just like 50s and rock and roll in general, but like the specific songs and the lyrics.
Yes.
It was great.
Absolutely. It reminds me kind of Bumblebee from Transformers.
Yes.
So like, using these clips or bits and phrases in order
to communicate.
Yeah, to communicate. And when Arnie is sitting in her, there's love songs. There's when Dennis breaks into Darnell's to kind of poke around and look at Christine. She starts playing Keep a Knockin', but you can't come in.
Right.
Richard.
Right. And I'll Never Let You Go. That song.
Yeah.
I'll Always Love You. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or Bad to the Bone was great.
Oh, Bad to the Bone, yes.
You can't, I think that was like one of the iconic songs in that movie.
Absolutely. When I hear Bad to the Bone, I usually think of Terminator 2 first. That's where I first heard it, I think. When that was 91, I believe. And so this is much earlier. And I think it was the first movies to use this song.
Yes.
I think maybe somebody had heard it and went to John Carpenter and said, "Hey, this is the song. This is the song for the movie. The song was written about Christine."
Honestly,
yeah.
It just connects so well, man. It's just a lot of classic rock and rolls, and I just thought it was funny when Lee at the end of the movie mentioned, "I hate rock and roll."
Yeah,
just like.
Let's see. What else we got here? So, yeah, like I said, only 2 Christines exist. One is a stunt vehicle that I think it's in a private collection, and the other was rescued and restored by this guy named Bill Gibson. He's in Florida. And if you haven't seen it, you should check out this very brief interview with him on YouTube. It's called Living Christine, where he, as a kid, wanted his own Christine and found a junked up car from the movie, restored it, and has a very kind of unusually romantic affinity for this car.
I thought the same thing.
And he even cried at one point when he's talking.
And it's ironic.
It really is like life imitating art.
Yes.
I know it's a really interesting kind of story he has, and be sure to check that out. But Christine still lives on. She's got her fans out there still. There's 2 car clubs for people who own Christine clones, either repainted Plymouth Furies or converted Belvederes or Savoys. The Carlisle Chrysler Nationals, that's a hard one. The Carlisle Chrysler Nationals, say that 3 times fast. They give an award every year for the best Christine lookalike.
I just think it's great how they continue this fan club of the Christine movie. It's just wonderful how it still attaches people to what the car was, what the car is, and basically continues Stephen King's legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what I've heard, the cast members and even John Carpenter have made appearances at those events.
That's beautiful.
There's a great picture of with I think it's John Carpenter, Keith Gordon, John Stockwell, Alexander Paul, and William Ostrander, who plays Buddy Repperton, and they're kind of posed in front of the Christine car, and this cast has not aged very well, by the way.
No,
I mean,
let's.
It's Keith Gordon, bless his heart. I think he is a fantastic actor. Like, his performance in this movie is one of my favorites. But he has undergone a pretty radical transformation. He's bald now, and John Stockwell, he's got a permanent tan now. He's really
right.
He looks like he's been hanging out at the beach since his career went under 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I haven't seen him in anything since, but he was. I remember him from like Top Gun. So he had some great roles there for a while.
I agree.
And even Keith Gordon has some great roles. He was in Legend of Billie Jean, Back to School with Ronnie Dangerfield, and he was in Jaws too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Jaws too. But now he doesn't act anymore. He hasn't acted for a long time. He's done mostly directing. He's known for being a director now. He's done a lot of TV.
A lot of good TV series.
Oh yeah,
I know Fargo was.
Yeah, Fargo.
That was a good
Dexter.
hit. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many feature films he's done. He's done a few that I haven't seen, but I'm really curious now. I need to go back and watch some of his filmography. I heard a really good interview with him last week. I was preparing for the podcast, and he's a very articulate director, and he credits John Carpenter a lot with influencing how he directs and everything.
That's amazing.
Like we said, this movie is based on a book by Stephen King. I've read the book once before, but I gave it a second glance to prepare for the podcast. I really like the book. It's slow and kind of depressing, and has a lot of extra subplots that I could live without, but I think it's one of the best King adaptations. Second might be the most recent It.
Yes.
That's come out. It was very faithful to the book.
Yes, it was.
And
it was crazy.
It was great, yeah.
But good.
So the screenplay was written by Bill Phillips, who wrote and directed a film that I've dying to track down. I can't find it anywhere. Called There Goes the Neighborhood, with Catherine O'Hara and Jeff Daniels and Hector Elizondo and Harris Yulin.
Classic actors.
And that one guy from Breaking Bad. I can't think of his name. But it's a great blast. But anyway, Bill Phillips wrote and directed that movie, and he wrote Christine. I don't think he's written many other films that I can recall. But yeah, that movie's super hard to find, and I really want to add it to the list. There Goes the Neighborhood. I also took a look at the script, and when compared to the book, it's very lean. It's very streamlined. Phillips took great care to tailor the narrative and the most important story beats and characters for the screen. I gave it a cursory glance. Wow, I mean, even though some of the scenes are verbatim for the book, the pacing is masterfully reworked. It's really solid. The scene with Buddy Repperton and Arnie in the shop, like when he's taunting him with his lunch and the switchblade, that scene is right out of the book. It translated very well. So in the movie, we're about to do a walkthrough, but there's a few little things I wanted to get out of the way. Since even though we're just talking about the movie Christine, the book is the source material, so it'd be nice to just kind of fill in some of those gaps.
Compare, contrast.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So in the movie, George LeBay is the old man that's chopping on a cigar all the time and wincing in a back brace. He's the one who sells Arnie the car and telling him that his brother was the original owner of the car. And later we find out his brother killed himself in it 6 weeks ago. In the book, the brother, Roland D. LeBay, is the brother. They kind of switch some things around. They take some of the characteristics of Roland D. LeBay and George LeBay, and they kind of put it all together, just to kind of make that a little easier. And in the book, it's the ghost of LeBay that is co-occupying the car with the entity of Christine.
Yes, they make Roland the central figure of what is causing all this mayhem, instead of just the car.
Exactly, yeah. So LeBay has this love for Christine, and his daughter died in it, his wife died in it. It's all he's obsessed with. And so I think that he initially sells the car because I think he knows he's probably going to die soon. And so that when Christine has a new owner, then that's kind of his vehicle, as it were, to kind of live again. And so in the book, he's kind of this ghostly figure, this kind of decaying apparition. But he's the one who's causing all of this. All of that, of course, is not in the movie, and I'm glad, because it wouldn't be the same.
It would not, because you would be taking a lot of focus away from the actual car, which is what this movie's about.
Right. The thing about Christine is sometimes when people talk about it, they say, oh, it's possessed by the devil or some other evil being, but the way I see it, and this is just my personal take, is that it's just simply alive, or it's just a freak of nature that was born on the assembly line in Detroit and was self-aware and had this power to regenerate, because there's no real mention of any supernatural element in the movie, because it remains mysterious as to what actually is possessing Christine, or if she's just Christine.
Yes. Well, that's why, before we had mentioned about the special effects. Because the special effects that they used were so natural that you could just feel the presence of a car that was humanly alive. And I think that's never been seen before, especially back in the 70s and 80s when automobiles were really starting to get unique and very classy. When you had a specific car, unlike nowadays, not to downgrade the commonality of a lot of cars and how they look, but I know for a fact that even my dad, he's really big on, if he sees a specific Mustang, he knows exactly what year, when it was made, where it was made, because that's how it was then.
Yeah.
And so with the Plymouth Fury, it's like exactly what that car looks like. And I feel like they did a really good job punctuating the differences in car models and car make and making Christine its own personality, because you could do that back then. Yeah, and we could even take it back to the 50s, the era of Christine's creation, where socializing happened around cars. Yes. And so you went to the
drive-through. You went to
even the movie, the
drive-in.
Drive-in.
I was like, drive-through and drive-in. Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about fast food too. It's okay.
Yeah. And so you were in your car with your date or your buddies, and so that's where you hung out.
It was the new social place.
It was, and that's certainly fallen away. I mean, we still have some drive-ins still around for nostalgia value, I guess.
Right.
But for the most part, car culture has not sustained itself the way it did. Because when Arnie buys Christine, he says she's 25 years old. That officially makes her an antique.
Yes.
And so,
right.
So the movie takes place in 1978, and so that's already like a cool classic car to him.
Right. Like I'm the cool guy now because I've got the ancient figure that no one else has.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because let's see, we don't really see any other cars like from that era like on screen that I can recall. Because I think most of the vehicles we see are
late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah. Junkins, the detective, played by Harry Dean Stanton, he drives a Plymouth Fury, but I think it's a later model. Like a 70s model.
Even Buddy, and that was a late 60s Mustang. Mm-hmm. I think 69, 70, even. I think maybe 69.
Yeah, because Dennis's Duster, I think it's around that same year. And so you gotta remember too, they're high school students, so they're going to have a slightly older car. When you're talking about your dad, it made me think of mine because I have a feeling that I may have only seen this movie because it had a Plymouth in the movie. Because it seemed like my dad was always... I mean, he is a big car fanatic, and he has like a 1968 or 69 Dodge Charger.
Wow.
And my uncle, his two brothers, each of them have Roadrunners. Wow. From that 68, 69, 70. And die-hard Dodge fans. Die-hard Plymouth, Mopar, all the way, baby. It's... and if it's anything else, it's crap.
Oh, yeah, that's
brand loyalty.
My family's that way, but with Fords.
Yeah.
You got the Explorer, you got the Expedition, you got the Mustang. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, I didn't get a lot of flack because I've only had foreign-made cars. Had a Nissan and a Mitsubishi, and now a Civic or a Honda Civic. I haven't been told yet. Well, why you get your Dodge?
Save up for that Challenger.
Yeah. Gosh, I seem like every movie that had a Dodge or Plymouth or Chrysler featured in it, my dad had brought it home. Okay, so we've rambled on enough. We've got some of the stuff off of our chest. So let's walk through this movie and pause every now and then when we find something we can tease out a little bit and dig our teeth into.
I'm all about it.
We open in Detroit, 1957, against Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood. So as some of the workers there at the factory are going on break, one guy decides he spots Christine on the assembly line. It's very unique because we see all the Furies in that ivory and gold color scheme, and Christine is the only one that's red and white in chrome. He just decides he's going to go sit in it.
Okay.
For no reason.
All right.
He goes in. I think the radio comes on.
Yes, just unexpectedly.
Yeah. But what happens, I don't think there's any malice. I think he just wanted to just kind of chill in it.
Sitting in it with a cigar.
And then he ashes in the sea.
Yes, and when he did that, I was like, something's going to happen. Yeah. Right? Because he just trashed on Christine.
Yeah.
Not knowing it's Christine, but you just trashed on Christine.
And then, for some reason, some guy decides to go check it out. Or he sees Christine, and I don't know if he suspects something is wrong, but he goes over there and he's looking. He doesn't see anybody in the car, and he opens the car door, and that guy just falls out with a cigar in his mouth. We don't know what happened to him. We just know that he died. We didn't see what happened to him. Flash forward to Rockbridge, California, 1978. In the book, the story took place in Libertyville, Pennsylvania. But I believe that they shifted the location for just logistical reasons. There's convenience
Yeah, it's
shooting
very
in California.
convenient,
It's
right.
actually shot mostly in the same neighborhoods that John Carpenter shot Halloween in, which I thought was pretty cool. So we see Dennis. He picks up Arnie. First day back at school. He runs out. He's got his mom's got his lunch, and he's taking out the trash. The trash bag breaks, and so he's just this clumsy, pimply nerd. He's got all the trappings of the stereotypical nerd. He's got the pocket protector with pins. He's got the black corner rim glasses, and he's plays the part. He's got his hair kind of parted and slicked over.
I think Carpenter did a beautiful job with that. You automatically see the portrayal of Arnie in this one scene.
Oh yeah,
of who he was.
Right. Yeah. Before
everything started to change. Right. Yeah. You just saw how his life was, and just how much of a, like you said, nerd, but he was used a lot. Or I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, his only friend was Dennis.
Yeah, that's his only friend. Because his life kind of revolves around what his parents want him to do.
Yes, everything what his parents wanted him to do.
Yeah,
do this, do that, like chess club.
Yeah, chess club. But yeah, everything in his life has been micromanaged by his mother. His father is complicit in it, but he just kind of leaves everything up to the mother to handle. Because I think he's a little scared of her. Oh, yes. There's Christine. As Arnie's running out to get in the car with Dennis, he's carrying this little satchel or this little book bag that in the DVD commentary, Keith Gordon says he still has that bag. It's kind of like his good luck bag.
That's fantastic.
That's pretty cool. And I always found it weird that Dennis parks or waits for Arnie at the end of the driveway. Like he doesn't pull up towards the garage or anything. He always parks at the end of the road.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with the mom.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they allowed cars in close to their house.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think the mom mentioned about toxic fumes or something like that. Yeah. And, oh my gosh.
I forgot. Yeah, you're right.
Like Helicopter Mom 101.
Oh yeah, I've forgotten all about that. Yeah,
here comes the propellers. Dun, 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 get out of there, Dennis.
Yeah, because ultimately that's what causes everything. Is it's all the mother. When Arnie gets Christine, she refuses to let him keep it at the house, keep it in the driveway. So that's why he has to go park it at this at Darnell's do-it-yourself garage. So if she had just let him park it there, he might not have gotten into all this trouble.
Exactly.
But anyway, so they're on the way to school, and Arnie is talking about playing Scrabble with his parents.
So intense. I didn't realize the game would be so intense, but
And he was so thrilled that he could have gotten mega points for putting down the word fellatio.
Right.
But his mom wouldn't allow it because obscenities are not allowed in Scrabble.
I'd be proud to spell the word bullshit across the Scrabble board.
No, wouldn't be great.
Not to offend anybody with their passion for a Scrabble game, but I just think it'd be
fun. It's a word.
It's a word.
I'm sure it's in the dictionary. Fellatio's in the dictionary because Arnie says he looked it up.
I mean, abbreviations too. POS.
Yeah, right. I never understood why abbreviations weren't allowed. We can already see some really great chemistry between Keith Gordon and John Stockwell here.
Yes.
They got this kind of long-standing friendship, and Dennis says, I think it's about time we get you laid, like this year. And so he's going through the list of, what about so-and-so, and Arnie
These were great lines.
I don't like her mustache.
Then Dennis leads in with that. It was like, let's get the hair in your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then, or even the line of talking about savings and how Arnie's got his savings account all up between his legs.
Oh yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, that's right, because I think he refers to somebody as like a walking sperm bank.
A sperm bank, right. It's classic.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Jeez. Some great lines.
Oh yeah, and so they're back at they're at school, and Arnie can't seem to get his locker open, and so Dennis has to help him with that. And some of his other buddies come up and they're asking Dennis if he's going to play football this year and so on. And they hear about this new girl named Lee Cabot, and everybody's just losing their mind over how beautiful she is. I think one guy says she's so beautiful, and she's got the body of a slut.
Right.
And it's in his delivery because you think he's going to say the body of an angel or
some
something.
type of a compliment that's beyond bars, but no, the body of a slut. Okay.
Of a slut.
It's great.
It is great. And this is Alexandra Paul. She is probably best known for her stint on Baywatch. I can't think of anything else she's been in. I should have done a little more research and looked it up, but
I mean, personally, I don't know. Do you think she aged well, or is it more of like a? Because part of me feels like for each of these cast members, something happened. For Alexandra,
it was this experience. Christine did this too.
Honestly, I think it had an effect on everybody.
Yeah, let's see. The movie's 35 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
83.
83. Yeah. 30.
Yeah.
30. Wow.
Yeah. So it was a long time ago.
Yes.
But no, they did not age well. None of them.
Because they were all very, very young.
Yeah, they're very young. They're probably, I think, early 20s.
At the max.
Yeah. I'd say
definitely.
Maybe early to mid 20s. Just we're talking about age, I want to ask you this. How old do you think, and don't cheat, don't look it up. How old do you think William Ostrander is, who plays Buddy Repperton?
Oh, jeez.
Or how old do you think he was when they made
this movie? Yeah. According to his style of facial hair, that was very unique in my opinion. And I would like to guess approximately 28, 29.
Okay, that's more generous than what I was expecting. All my life I thought this guy is 35.
Easy.
Easy. He just looks.
Oh my.
He doesn't look like a high school student.
No
at
way.
all.
No way.
He looks like he could.
Some beat off the street that just wants to beat kids up,
Yeah.
What you want, punk? I got a switchblade, son.
He got a switchblade. Which I think every bully that Stephen King has written is like this and has a switchblade. That's just his jam.
Iconic.
But no, he was actually 24.
Really?
Yeah, it's 24.
Okay, I was 5 and 4 off.
Yeah. Split the difference there. But everybody else kind of holds the look of a high schooler. They're passable anyway. I think of Back to the Future. So that was 1985 when it came out, and Michael J. Fox was 24, playing a 17-year-old. And so was Thomas F. Wilson, who played Biff. He was, I think, 24. But then in Back to the Future 2 and 3, which was 4 or 5 years later, they look the same. And then later, Thomas F. Wilson came back to film a segment for the Back to the Future, the ride at Universal Studios in the mid-90s, I guess, and he still looks the same age. He doesn't look the same anymore.
Right, but still.
But he was able to kind of maintain that continuity.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like you do have control over that, though, in a certain way. It's and I guess we are right that Christine had this effect on everybody.
Yeah, she Alexandra Paul. Doesn't hold up well. John Stockwell, Keith Gordon, even John Carpenter is looking kind of rough these days. But he's still jamming. Like he just wrote the score for the new Halloween that's coming out next month. And
it's good stuff. Oh, the music is great. Iconic. Iconic.
He released 2 albums within the past few years called Lost Themes and Lost Themes 2. It was collaborations that he did with, I think, his son and somebody else. Really, really great tunes. Great synthesizer, classic Carpenter, very minimalist, little rocked up stuff. And there are even like tributes to some of his older original work. There's even a song that's very, very similar to Christine. I might play it for you later. But yeah, so the music, and John Carpenter's live, he's doing like a tour.
That's amazing.
I mean, he's still jamming.
He's still at it.
So Dennis is looking for Arnie, and we find out that Buddy Repperton has him and his little crew of lackeys. There's a little circle around Arnie, and Buddy is taunting him with a switchblade, and he points at the name on Arnie's lunch, and he's like, Arnie Cuntingham.
Yeah, I think
Cuntingham.
I think
I don't remember that from the book, but I do like that bit.
Yeah.
And William Ostrander, who plays Buddy, he is or was like running for like a seat in the House of Representatives or something, California. Really? Yeah, he was. Wow. I found him on Twitter a while back, and it was all about his campaign and everything. Wow. And he has actually aged probably better than anybody. Like he kind of owns the.
He kept his physique very well. I mean, he stayed
crazy
fit.
Hair, but
right.
He's got like short gray hair now. So he's got the switchblade. Buddy crushes Arnie's glasses, stabs Arnie's lunch bag, and yogurt pours out. And Moochie, one of the lackeys, this big kid, goes at Dennis and grabs him by the balls and squeezes his balls.
I could just feel the pain when that happened. I'm like, oh, Dennis.
I mean, I guess that's one way to take somebody down, but...
Yeah, but still, just, the camera action, just the whole scene.
And I'm like, and we should... let's have a little disclaimer here, because this movie is pretty foul. Like,
watch out, kids.
There is some strong language, especially the F word, so if you don't like that word, or if you would rather not subject yourself to that, you might go and listen to one of our previous episodes.
Yes, because we do want to forewarn our viewers that this movie does have some pretty explicit words involved. That's awesome. Are you good with saying like the whole motherfucker lines?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I've been practicing. No, I'm just kidding. It's so. So after the ball squeezing, Mr. Casey shows up. Break it up. And he asks what's going on, and Dennis says, Buddy came after Arnie, and he's got a knife. And Buddy, he's you fucking liar. Yeah. He's like, that's bullshit, Mr. Casey. I swear to God. It's like, empty out your pockets, buddy. He's like, and he refuses to do it. And he's like, you can't make me.
It was so funny. I just feel like they stalled a little bit in this scene with just pulling out the knife. Like, just pull it out already. We all know it's there.
I know, and it's a longer scene in the book. Like, he just will not, he just refuses to give it, to turn out his pockets. Mr. Casey goes on and on about, we're going to rat him out to the police. But Mr. Casey just said, turn out your pockets, or I'm going to call the cops. He tells Mr. Casey, you can't make me. He says, if you mean I don't have the authority to try it, you ball, fucking, I'll knock you through the wall. Fuck! And he just gives that barking fuck.
Right.
Mr. Casey is completely unfazed, but I know this is 1978, but my goodness.
Still...
That these days, no one would be having that. No teacher would be having that.
Ever.
He'd be gone, suspended, expelled, whatever. Like that's a big no-no.
No. Granted, he was kicked out.
Yeah, he was.
But still, I mean, even in that scene, they'd be kicked out right after that. No time for the office.
No. After Mr. Casey said he's going to call the cops, Buddy tosses out the knife, and the switchblade opens on the ground. And so he says to Arnie, "I'll fix you. He's gonna get even." And Arnie didn't even do anything.
No, he just stood there.
And
he took it like a champ.
He did, and he was, even when they were fighting or whenever he was taunting Arnie, Dennis says something like, "It's not a fair fight if you got a knife, and since you got a knife, I call that chicken shit."
Right.
or I'd say you're chicken shit. And Arnie's like, yeah, it's chicken shit. Yeah.
You could just see in his face.
He was terrified, but he held his own. And so on the way back home, Arnie says, it wasn't bad for his day at school.
No sarcasm there.
Yeah, none. But then all of a sudden, Arnie's like, wait, Dennis, turn around, go back. And we don't really know what has caught Arnie's attention, but Dennis throws it in reverse. And then we kind of pan over to see this car, this classic car, rusting away in the weeds beside this house with a for sale sign in the window. It's love at first sight.
Oh yeah.
He's immediately calling her she, and he wants her, and he's going to have her. And Dennis says, it's got 93,000 miles on it, Arnie, and probably 193.
Right.
And she probably won't even start. And then the owner pops up, it's like, oh, she'll start. You need these. Holds the keys up. And this is Roberts Blossom, who is a great actor. I remember him from Escape from Alcatraz, probably best known for playing Old Man Marley in Home Alone. He was a little creepy in that, but then turned out to be a very sweet, loving person. And in this movie, he's just kind of this cantankerous old man.
You shitter.
You shitter.
Goodness. Yeah.
Shitter. Yeah.
It was just very, very creepy. I think creepy is a good word for it. Especially with the brace on, the back brace.
Yeah, he's got this really nasty looking back brace on. He's a really lanky guy. Right. And he's got the beard and his hair's kind of messed up. He's got a little cigar. And he doesn't look good.
No.
And Arnie's like, well, how much do you want for her? However much is not enough.
And then you can just see on Dennis's face, like, you idiot.
He's like, Arnie, this guy's weird. I know you got savings, but man,
do something better.
Do something better with your money. To start it up, LeBay says, her name's Christine. Christine. I like that. So he's
right.
Like, we can already see him have this, or he sees Christine as an entity, or as a being, as a female.
The emotional connection there immediately begins.
It's tangible.
Right.
So LeBay says, I've been asking about $300, and I'll make it $250 for you. And Arnie's got his checkbook out. He's ready.
All ready to go.
And LeBay's like, don't even think about bringing it back here, because I'm selling this shithole and I'm going to buy me a condo.
Right? He honestly could have sold it for $500 or $600.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
But Dennis asks, why, or we find out that it's LeBay's brother who previously owned the car.
Right.
And Dennis says, well, if your brother loved this car so much, why is he selling it? And he says, well, he's stone cold dead, that's why. Died 6 weeks ago. We later find out that he killed himself in the car by attaching a hose to the pipe, or to the tailpipe, and
putting it in through the car for carbon dioxide. And then his daughter died in the car before he did. Then his wife after that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I know. Spoiler alert. We know that Christine can regenerate, and we were talking about this prior to recording. Joseph, what is your theory on why Christine is in this dilapidated state when we see her?
I feel that without love, she has no power, or she cannot produce the over-passionate power that we know her to have without that love. Yeah. And so when LeBay died, the owner of the car, when he died, I think that love just ran out, and so she gave up and just sat there. And then poor Arnie comes along, and then once he gets attached, it's like a magnet, and she just drew to it, and once again, life drew back into her. And as long as he stayed alive, for what we've seen, she has the power to be invincible, basically.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about the emotional capacity that Christine has.
Yes.
That we definitely can, I think Christine can be seen as a relatable character all her own, because she is empathetic in that she's jealous, she's furious, she is petty at times. There's this neediness as well. Like there's a lot of very human qualities that are played out through very, very subtle moments in the movie.
Yes. And back to our point about the radio songs. Keep a knockin'. Multiple times that song was played on the radio when and that told us that Christine's going to get you at some point because she loves Arnie, but you try knocking on her door, or like Dennis wrote on the car.
Oh yeah,
come here, because he knew. Later in the movie, it was just very iconic.
Yeah,
just the songs that were being played. It's awesome.
I wish I could remember the song that plays when Lee is choking in the car later, towards the middle of the movie, like in the drive-in. I can't remember what song it was, but I kind of want to know what that is. Arnie buys the car straight up, and I forgot what Dennis remarks to LeBay, but LeBay says, You don't know as much as you think you do. Shitter.
Sure, you're a shitter.
And in the book, the Roland the Bay character said shitter a lot. Like, he was a kind of this ghost figure, but he would always say, shitter! Everybody's a shitter. The shitters of the world. Blah, blah, blah. Shitter, shitter, shitter. It got a little annoying at times, because that's all he could say, really, at most points. A very memorable line from this scene when LeBay is trying to sell Arnie on the car, or he's not really trying to. He's just talking about the car. Let's talk about that new car smell, the finest smell in the world, except for pussy.
Yeah.
And it just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Except for pussy. And then he looks back as he says it too. Yeah. And I'm like, what a guy.
I know. I do like his character a lot.
It's great.
He's not in it quite enough.
It's from an old guy like that too. You just don't expect it.
So we go to the Cunningham's house, and Arnie's parents are livid, especially his mother. So, you did what?
Figures.
And he's like, yeah, it's outside. It's Christine. And the mother is not having it.
At all.
Not at all. She says, you will not keep that car at this house. And he says, you want me to go to college? I'm there. Chess club? Fine. In 17 years, he's done everything to please his mother. But he said, I'm going to have this one thing.
Right. And you could see the determination on his face, too.
Absolutely. You can see that candle's already been lit.
Right.
So he decides he's going to take it to Darnell's do-it-yourself garage, where he can store it, but also do all of his repairs and stuff there. And this place is run by Will Darnell, played by Robert Prosky, that I remember from Last Action Hero and Gremlins 2. He's a very kind of pleasant, cheery character actor, but in this one he's very entertaining in that he really has a presence on the screen.
I agree.
And Arnie's very meek with him. Yes, sir, Mr. Darnell, whatever. And but Darnell's kind of suspicious. He's kind of laying down the rules about what's allowed and what's not allowed in his establishment. So I don't know smoking in here either.
And there's a group of guys smoking in the back. All right.
Dennis, being the smart ass he is, he says, Mr. Darnell, those men over there are smoking. Because Darnell's buddy is playing cards.
Right.
So, you better tell him to stop. Darnell's like, you trying to help your buddy right out of here, Chuck?
You shut your pie hole.
Yeah, shut your pie hole.
All right.
He's so nasty.
It's like this angry uncle that no one wants to hang around with.
He's got the cigar stuck in his mouth. So he's like, get out of here, we're closed. So Dennis takes Arnie home, and he asks him, what is it about that car, man? And Arnie says, I don't know. The first time in my life I've found something that's uglier than me.
It's like, wow.
And that kind of hit me at first when I upon rewatching it for the podcast, because he finds something very relatable.
Yes.
To
him.
Yeah.
That no one else could. His parents weren't relatable to him. Nobody, because he saw Dennis as a higher figure of influence. This guy he looked up to.
Yeah.
No one at school, didn't have any friends at school but Dennis, and this one thing he found that was relatable to him because it was found in a junkyard that he thought he was junk as well.
Yeah.
It's a very...
The level that Arnie connects to Christine, it happens on so many different dimensions. It's a very kind of complex, not only affinity he has, but it's I'm trying to think of a word that's more elevated than love.
Yeah, and it's not even passion though.
It's not. It might be a touch, but I think that's not the biggest.
The overall.
Yeah. It's
description of it.
It verges on obsession and madness.
Right.
Like he's so maddeningly
toxic.
Yeah, it is a toxic relationship, if we want to call it that. But he says, I can fix her up though. Yeah. So he doesn't seem to have a lot of confidence in fixing himself. Like I think he sees himself as irreparable. Like he's just, this is how I am. I'm just this nerdy, pimply kid. But I'm going to fix Christina. So he has this purpose now.
Right.
So we flash forward, I think about 3 weeks go by. Arnie's raiding the junk pile at Darnell's. And Darnell leans over,
Good old Darnell.
And tells his buddy, you know, Pepper, you can't polish a turd.
Exactly like that, too.
Yeah. I've always liked that line.
It's beautiful.
And this little exchange, so Darnell goes up to Arnie. I think he sees that Arnie's been spending a lot of time there. He's really dedicated, and he seems like a good kid. And so he's not going to bust his balls anymore. He's going to make an effort to be kind.
Right.
And so he says, "I don't think you got the gold key to the crapper." Because he's been raiding the junk pile. And he says, "Look, I know you ain't exactly got money falling out of your asshole. If you did, you wouldn't be here. Maybe we can work out some kind of deal."
Oh, yeah, when he does that, it's just like Italian, a little physique going on. It's like, you know, maybe we can work some kind of deal. You know?
I want to make an offer he can't refuse. That kind of thing.
Exactly.
He says, "You pick up around the place, do a few loops, put the toilet paper on the little spools." Shit like that. Do that and you can raid my junk pile for whatever you want.
Oh, it's so accurate.
Hell, I might even throw in a few bucks. And he's grinning. Like he seems really pleased with himself.
Right.
Like this is
doing something worthwhile.
He's really going out of his comfort zone to be nice. And Arnie is sincerely grateful. You see it in his face. He says, "Well, I have to think about it."
Darnell.
And Darnell's immediately offended. He said, "Well, don't think about it too long, or I'll throw you out on your fucking ass." And he storms away.
That's great.
He turned on a dime, like he was
such anger.
And so Arnie goes and sits in Christine, turns on the radio, 50s love song. In the book, they explain it that Christine only got this one radio station, WDIL, and it was the classic, or the oldies station. And of course, Christine only plays these classic songs from her era,
some like Richie Valens, some Buddy Holly,
and Little Richard.
And
he's already kind of caressing Christine in this moment, or it almost looks like a hug, or he puts his head down like on the steering wheel, and he's just kind of petting it. Yeah. So he's already getting frisky with Christine. He's testing the waters a little bit. Maybe he'll get to third base. So
nothing's better than pussy, apparently.
Oh gosh. So I'm guessing they're in study hall now. So it looks like they're in the library, but everybody's working on something, and there's a teacher in there kind of proctoring. And Dennis's buddies are trying to get him to go talk to Lee. And so he goes and subterfuge. He gets a book and walks by her and sits down. It's like, "Oh, what are you reading?" "History." It's like, "That's pretty boring, huh?"
She's like, "Oh, yeah.
And this has got to be the worst set of pickup lines.
Oh, it was the worst I've ever seen. I felt bad for him, honestly.
Yeah, I did too. It was really awkward.
Very awkward, yeah.
My palms were sweating. It's like, "Did you like music? What about dancing? You want to go dancing with me?"
It's like,
and he's denied. She says, "I can't. I got a date." And
he's probably like, "Who can this be?"
Right. And you can see that in his mind. Who in the hell could this be? We'll later find out who it is. So Dennis, he leaves. He goes to Arnie's, and he's parked again at the end of the driveway again. Don't want those toxic fumes invading the Cunningham residence.
Yes, don't need those repellers.
Exactly.
You know, just gotta dodge that.
And Arnie comes out, and he's noticeably different. He's not wearing his glasses. He
apparently can see.
Yeah,
you know.
His vision is
okay,
restored.
Buddy. All right.
In the book, he had really bad acne, and that was kind of the sign of the change. The transformation was that his acne just cleared up magically and became a very handsome guy. But yeah, he's got a little bit of swagger in his step. There's just something noticeably different.
His hair's better too.
His hair's better. He just carries himself differently.
Yes.
And the mom pulls Dennis aside and says, "Does Arnie know that the man who owned that car last died in it?" And I think they make a decision not to tell him. But I think this plants a seed in Dennis's mind, so he goes back to the base. And LeBay's kind of closing up shop. He's closing up, the house and everything. He says, the dentist, you don't know shit. My brother died because he wanted to. No shitter ever came between him and Christine. And that's when we find out that the guy's daughter choked in it. The wife killed herself in it. And LeBay says, I made him get rid of it. The car came back 3 weeks later.
Right. And that's when Dennis is like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean the car came back? And I really like that line because
Me too.
It resonates. It's a line that it's like the last line in a chapter to keep you reading.
Yes.
The car came back 3 weeks later.
And there's just that period at the end of the sentence, and there's nothing after that.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it makes you just think a little bit. It's like walking in the Grand Canyon. You can't get yourself out of it because you hear this echo back and forth, and you can't get it out of your head. And I honestly, when I heard that line, I just had to pause the movie and think twice about what he just said and Dennis's reaction to it. Because it was great.
Yeah, and LeBay kind of leaves. He just kind of gives him a look
and a stare.
It's a stare. Yeah, you can't read his face. He's just kind of like it almost says, "What do you think I mean?" Or what else could that mean?
Right. I think the beard has a lot to do with it too. Just really hides.
It hides everything. Yeah. This is when Dennis decides to sneak into Darnell's at night and have a look at Christine, poke around a little bit. And he's trying to get into the car, and that's when the radio springs to life and starts playing Keep a Knocking, But You Can't Come In.
Right.
So this is her saying, hey, no.
Yeah, you can't come in here.
No touch. No peeking.
And Dennis is like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, he bolts.
He bolts out of there.
So Dennis is he's in a football game, and this is a really great shot. He's running with the ball. He's running towards like the edge of the. He's running and he sees Arnie and Lee.
Right. Well, and not just that, but the car too.
Yeah.
So the play starts right, and he knows he knows the playbook. He knows he needs to go to the end zone. Right. Mm-hmm. The quarterback throws the ball, but he, in his mind, once he sees Lee get out of a car, he doesn't know what car it is yet, but he sees the girl get out of the car. He's like, whoa, that's Lee. Now she's got my attention. Uh-huh. But then he sees the car, and he's like, no way. Yeah. All in his mind. And then he sees Arnie get out of the car, and then I think that's when he just lost it.
Yeah, especially when they're kissing.
Yes.
And they're up against Christine.
Exactly.
So it's the whole package. One, he can't believe his buddy is with Lee, and that this was the date guy, and that Christine is apparently fully restored in a very short period of time.
Very short period of time.
It's immaculate. It's gleaming in the sun. The chrome is polished. It's gorgeous. And this shot, like where he's almost running towards them, and the music is very, very simple. And I'm kind of blanking. What happens to him? He gets tackled.
He was trying to go for the ball. Mm-hmm. He caught the ball, but then two defenders, one just barreled him under the legs, and he did this backflip and almost broke his spine. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, he's hurt pretty badly. The book is structured very unusual in that the first third of the book is narrated by Dennis. The second half is narrated in third person when Dennis is incapacitated. Wow. And so whenever he comes back from that, then he starts telling the story again. So it's an interesting structure, but he hurt his back really bad, and his leg is messed up. And Arnie goes to see him in the hospital. These scenes with Dennis and Arnie in the hospital I really like. And I just like the way that Keith Gordon plays these scenes.
Yes. It's because, you see differences every time. You see him get more menacing every time. And
really very cool, very cold, very emotionless.
Yes.
Dennis tells him that I'm not going to be able to play football anymore. Dennis questions Arnie, and he still can't keep the car at home, so he's got to keep it at Darnell's in stall 20. And there's a neat little moment here, and I don't know if this was Keith Gordon's decision or if it was Carpenter's decision, but when Arnie and Dennis are talking, Dennis is laid up in bed, Arnie takes this little paper cup and sticks it on Dennis's toe. And it's not played for comedy, but it's just kind of this little, you are vulnerable right now.
Right.
You can't move, you can't do anything about this, and I'm just going to put this on your toe. I don't know. It seemed uncharacteristic of Arnie in that he is exerting more dominance, or he's becoming more. What's the word?
He is becoming more independent of others because he leaned on a lot of people, and he was becoming more independent of that. I think they did a good job because that was like a little snippet of a small thing to see. And I think you might have to watch it twice to know exactly what... It was like a passive-aggressive, meaningful...
You brought up a good point in that this is him gaining his independence because we learn that he really hasn't been able to find that independence because of his overbearing mother and his home life and all of the activities that his mother wants him to do. And so he's been at their mercy. And so... This is him kind of coming into his own. Arnie has a great line as he's leaving the hospital. He pauses on his way out and says to Dennis, "Has it ever occurred to you that part of being a parent is trying to kill your kids?" And
I was kind of blown back by that. I was like, oh, what's going on?
Well, it really reveals the way he perceives his parents now, or this kind of rage and resentment that he has towards them, that he sees it in a new light now that he's become more independent, I think.
He's in control of his own destiny now.
Right. So Arnie takes Lee out on a date at the drive-in, and Lee knows that Arnie cares more about the car than her. She senses it.
I think, just knowing that, I'm like, Arnie, you idiot. Because there's this beautiful girl right here. Yeah. And you can't give her the attention she deserves more so than your car.
Well, see, that's the thing. He's blind to it. He doesn't see it. It doesn't matter what she says about not liking the car, or just she knows there's something bad about it, but he just doesn't see it. He gets defensive about Christine.
Right. She even slaps the seat, and he's like, don't do that. Like shrugging it off, but you can see in his mind that he's like,
I think in the back of his mind too, like he knows that there are consequences for things like that.
Right.
That Christine don't take no shit.
Right.
From shitters.
Shitters.
So it's pouring down rain. Arnie goes,
the windshield wiper got stuck.
Oh, yes. That's right. I was getting confused.
And then he's like, oh, shit. He goes out of the car, tries to fix it.
I completely forgot about that. And that we know that Christine did that on purpose to get him out of the car.
Exactly. And of course, Lee's like, oh, I'm hungry now.
She starts eating and she starts choking on this burger.
Yes.
And the radio's on and everything gets really bright in the car. This is a really neat effect. It's very simple. It's just a bright light. But it's just coming from no particular place. And she's choking. And Arnie reacts like he's trying to get to her, but the door is automatically locked.
Was the song "We Belong Together" by Robert and Johnny? I think it was.
Okay.
I think it was because literally they only played it for a short period of time, maybe like 45 seconds. But the light really got bright, and you just knew that maybe Lee's just going to die here.
Yeah, and how did the stranger get into the car?
I think she unlocked the door as she was choking, couldn't get enough energy to push the door open. Okay. So, because you could see him, like, during that whole scene, just staring at Lee and Arnie as, because she left the car because she didn't feel comfortable making out in the car. Then Arnie drags her back in the car, and you could see him staring at them still.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think as she was choking... That was Christine's dumb part by putting the light on, because, let's just all look at Lee choking, but...
Yeah, it's kind of her boa constrictor power.
Right.
It's, she's choking, and this happens in the book, too. Lee does choke on a piece of burger, but how does Christine will that to happen? Or does she... somehow
it's interesting.
Take over Lee's
digestive tract.
Yeah. It's a mystery, but in the book, it happens in a different place. They pick up a hitchhiker, and then they stop and get some food, and then Arnie gets out of the car, and there's a hitchhiker who saves her, but Arnie doesn't try to help her. He's just kind of like stunned. And I think in the movie, he tries to get to Lee, but he's still a little appressive.
Yes, you could see both sides. Yeah, there's something stopping him from really getting to Lee.
Yeah, because even when the stranger gives her the Heimlich maneuver, he's not really doing much. He's just like, get your hands off of her.
Right.
But he's standing there.
Right.
He doesn't really run to her or seem to care.
Right.
It's almost like his capacity for that empathy and compassion is gone. Or he can't quite find it in himself.
Right. So
Arnie drops her off. She knows the car's jealous. She knows that Christine did that. That was not just her choking. She's scared and she is done with him. You can tell. Arnie goes back to the car and it won't start. And
this was
and he speaks to Christine. He's like, "Oh, come on,
come on, baby.
It's you and me.
It's okay."
Yeah, and then it magically starts up.
Yeah.
And while he's starting the car, I caught this for the first time last night. There is a little sound effect as he's trying to start the engine. You can hear that little sound from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh my gosh!
It's subtle, but it's there. I'm 99% sure that's what it is. But I thought that was a nice little touch, a little Easter egg there. So he takes off in the rain to Darnell's. He drops the car off, and this is the scene that I always remember the most, or at least for the music, because this track from the soundtrack it's called "The Rape." I remember this little piece of music better than I do the others in the movie. When Arnie exits, this is a one shot. This is great. So he pulls into Darnell's, drops off the car, and exits. And that's when Buddy Repperton and his little crew go in.
Right.
And they demolish Christine. Buddy gets up on the hood with a sledgehammer, busts the windshield open, and you can tell he's savoring this moment. Like he's going to take so much pleasure out of destroying the one thing that Arnie loves. The one thing that the only thing that's his.
Douchebag.
He's going to take it from him. And they stab the body. They break all the glass of headlights. It's just a mess. Next morning, Arnie is with Lee, and he's talking to her about applying to schools because he's want to get into the same colleges or universities that she is. And this is a small part of the book, but he's kind of obsessed with Lee, but he's not in love with her. He's in love with the idea of her, like having a physical counterpart.
Right.
And
that's a very good point. He's passionate for Christine, but yeah, like you say, he sees Lee as the physical part of a relationship.
Yeah.
That he can't have with Christine.
Right. Yeah, so I think in the back of his mind, he's trying to negotiate those feelings or that natural human longing for a companion, but it's a 58 Plymouth.
Right.
So,
Right.
So when Arnie discovers Christine, Lee doesn't know what to do. She wants to comfort him, so she very cautiously goes to him and touches his shoulder, and he explodes.
Oh my gosh.
Like, don't touch me, shut her, get away from her.
It was crazy.
And so we are seeing Arnie use a lot of the kind of LeBay-isms.
Yes.
It's like shitter. You start calling people shitter, the shitters of the world. And
like all of them are shitters.
Yeah, everybody's a shitter except Christine.
Right.
Also, later on, he'll make the nothing smells better than pussy. Like he makes that remark to Dennis. And then later on, like when they go for a ride
it's
together.
like New Year's Eve.
Yeah, New Year's Eve, yeah. Dennis rides in Christine, and Arnie, as they pull away, he says, "Okay, let's motivate."
Right.
And that's in the book. Like that's something that the ghost of LeBay would say is let's motivate. And so I like that they kept all of these really subtle qualities of LeBay that like they're kind of working themselves into Arnie.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that they don't explain
that it's actually LeBay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
I like
with
that mystery.
Yep. I agree.
So he's sitting at the table with his mom and dad. And he's just like, if you hadn't been so damn selfish, they took a shit on the dashboard, Mom. And the dad finally pipes up halfway into this movie.
Yeah.
He says, "Your mother and I have decided to help you get a new car." And he's not having it. He doesn't really emote much at all during this scene. He looks at his mother and says, "Well, fuck you." And it's very kind of cool. And she just breaks down crying.
Starts bawling.
She can't believe that her sweet, darling, cultivated son would speak to her that way.
Right.
And the dad...
He just sits there and
just sits there
just, like, and dumbfounded, really, I think.
Arnie says he's going to fix up Christine, so he goes to leave, or he goes to stop Arnie, and the dad gets confrontational, and he grabs Arnie, and Arnie, I mean, that explosive rage, he's, take your mitts off me, motherfucker.
Yeah, and, it's crazy.
And he grabs the dad's throat, and the dad looks absolutely horrified.
Yes.
And then Arnie changes. He just starts laughing.
And just taps him on the cheek?
Taps him on the cheek, and then leaves. That, to me, resonated more than most of the scenes in the movie.
Yes.
Because we see Arnie go from being this very passive and manipulated 17-year-old into being this monstrous figure that is what has now become a stranger to his own parents.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that he called his dad a motherfucker, and then he's swears the same thing to his mom.
Yeah.
All in one scene. It was just very dramatic,
and
very
the physical violence.
Yes, the physical.
Grabbing the throat.
That was crazy.
And just the laughter. It's just he turns on a dime, going from being
bipolar.
Yeah.
It's very bipolar.
And I think that's why his performance comes off so well, is he makes very deliberate choices in his acting to emphasize those really extreme highs and lows that he's having. And this, because he's kind of stuck in this weird place where he's obsessed, possessed, and so I like that he really conveys that inner turmoil.
It was a phenomenal job of acting. But like you said, the emotional complexity of his actions. It was.
So now we see Arnie and Christine, and he says, they can't hurt us anymore, not if we work together. We'll show those shitters what we can do. This is a really interesting scene, and I was trying not to get to this before we recorded because I really want to make sure that I talk about it. Is he turns away, and then he hears a sound, he turns back, and the engine is fixed. It's shiny new.
Right.
And he doesn't go, what the fuck? He doesn't.
He's not surprised.
He's not surprised. And that's what I find very interesting about his acting. I don't know if it's his choices or Carpenter's, but he is completely unfazed, and he walks towards the front of the car, stands directly in front of it, and there's this great kind of, we pan in to Arnie's face, really tight close-up, and he says, okay, show me. And it's kind of like telling somebody to undress for me.
Right.
He said, he's like, not only like show me kind of what you can do, or show me the truth, show me.
It was a very intimate kind of scene.
It's very intimate. And I was thinking about this yesterday. It's kind of like a reverse striptease.
Yes. Yes. I guess is he getting a boner from this? Or?
Probably. Because when he says, show me, the headlamps come on, and there's that great sound. And then this great bit of music starts playing. It's called Harlem Nocturne. And it's at this very kind of sensual piece of music. There's some saxophone and everything. And then Christine starts to regenerate. We see all the pieces come together. Things are unbuckling. As Arnie is watching this, like the look on his face, it's as though he's watching somebody undress.
Right.
Like he is
so mesmerized.
He's mesmerized. Absolutely. He's so into it and enjoying it. Like you can tell this is a pleasurable experience for him. Like
yes.
He's really. Christine could just be like, okay, here's the deal. I can regenerate.
Yeah.
But I think it's more than that. It's he has made her comfortable to show that vulnerable side. It's like the next stage in the relationship.
Yes. Like she's showing him why she is something more than a car. Yeah. Basically, like the real deal.
Right. And the fact that he's not like, whoa, this car is putting itself back together. Yeah. it's
you nailed it. You nailed it by saying that in a relationship, he literally crossed from second to third base. I feel like in this scene with the car.
And I think that it helped to, like when he says that, hey, no one's going to hurt us anymore. As long as we work together, we'll show those shitters. I think that gave her the boost to feel comfortable that, hey, okay, I love you, and we're going to get these guys.
Right.
And they're not going to do this again.
Right.
So, scene change. We got Moochie Welch walking along like the turnpike or something. But he sees Christine just off to the corner, and you hear the music.
The music. Mm-hmm.
It's that little bitty pretty one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that.
Oh, it's a good choice.
It's you can't see anyone behind the wheel. It's the windows are dark and it's just idling and you just hear that music. It's kind of taunting.
It's it's a creepy happy. Kind of
it's
mood.
this kind of this animal that's about to pounce.
Yes,
like it is getting ready to lunge.
The tinted windows were a very good effect.
Kill mode. Yeah. I mean, for practical reasons, it was used to hide the stunt driver. But
yes,
but it's a great effect, I think.
Yes.
And Moochie says, "Is that you, Cunningham? Hey, you're not mad, are you?"
Like this bully just gone innocent kind of feel for it.
Well, I think he realizes that this is about to get bad.
Right, right.
And so he takes off running, and Christine comes after him, runs him down in this little alley or something with a dead end. And Christine can't really pass through this small opening, and Moochie thinks he's safe now. But then she basically shaves off the sides of the car, and it just guns it at him.
Takes out half of his body, basically.
Yeah. And like you'd said before we started recording, that his death was quite avoidable.
He could have jumped on the car.
He could have done,
numerous things.
Yeah. He's kind of like that guy in Austin Powers. He's got his hand out stretched and saying, "No!" And he's about to be run over by a steamroller that's
way
50
down,
yards away. Just unavoidable death.
Especially like in the little area he was at around him, he was trying to climb the wall, right?
Oh yeah.
But you could see a little ledge right where his shoulders are.
Oh.
Where he could have, holstered himself, just the little things, he could have holstered himself up and just stayed there while the car's trying to rein him, because it's a car, it's not a truck, it's not an 18-wheeler, It's like, come on, Moochie.
I mean, but it shows how bloodthirsty and how determined Christine is to get him. That
very true.
She puts herself into such a state of disrepair, and she's trying to get to this small opening
just to take that objective.
And
that happens again with the other guys as well. We've seen
Oh, good old buddy. Let's see. Arnie goes and visits Dan again in the hospital, and he says he fixed her back up. And Dennis is like, "Well, what if they try to do it again?" He's like, "They won't do it again." Right.
Yeah,
and it's just very matter of fact.
That look.
It's that cold steel, ice cold.
And he doesn't have to be in the car or be anywhere near the car to know what Christine is thinking.
Yeah, and that's something that I find really interesting for the movie because, like in the book, Christine would kill when Artie was out of town. He would go run errands for Darnell, and he'd have to go out of state. And so he always had an ironclad alibi. And so there are times that I think Arnie knows what's going on, but part of him is so removed from it because in the next scene when he's talking to Detective Rudolph Junkins, played by Harry Dean Stanton, there are times where he's trying to play it cool, be a smart ass tough guy. But there are moments where he says, "I honestly don't know what's going on. I really don't." And I don't know if I believe him or not, but he's almost believable.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
I think he knows something's going on, but I don't think he really understands the full situation,
complexity of everything.
He knows it's happening, but it's kind of in a far off part of his brain,
right? Like the bipolar self that he is.
Yeah,
it's like Christine has made that fury part of him alive. But when he's not thinking about her, he's back to that, innocent Arnie that we knew at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that exactly. That old Arnie starts to peek through a little bit from time to time. So Junkins comes up and he's talking to Arnie, wants to question him about Moochie's death. And just to pause for a second, like the way Arnie dresses is really interesting. He makes some really subtle. He and the costume, Keith Gordon and the costume designer made some really smart choices with his wardrobe, and then he starts to gradually wear clothes that are evocative of the 50s. He's wearing, sometimes he's kind of got this greaser vibe going on, and then when he's talking to Junkins, he's wearing this leather vest over this button-down shirt. which, according to IMDb, said it's a nod to Western TV shows popular during the 50s. I can kind of buy that. But then he also starts to wear this red suede jacket, like very James Dean, Rebel Without Cause kind of thing.
Right.
And it's subtle. It's not like going to a Halloween party dressed as a greaser where you just got everything screams you're a greaser. You got the pack of cigarettes in your short sleeve, you got the Converse sneakers, the hair slicked back, whatever. It's just very subtle.
Yes.
And I do like that kind of those kinds of details. So Junkin says, the car was demolished, and it's immaculate.
Basically.
Yeah. He said, I heard someone defecated on the dashboard. And I love this. Arnie says, shit wipes off.
It's such a nice, smooth line.
It's very smooth.
It was beautiful.
Junkins says, trying to get Arnie to open up and to tell him something because he divulges that Moochie, they had to scrape him up with a shovel, or his leg with a shovel. Yeah, and Arnie says, isn't that what you're supposed to do with shit? Scrape it up with a little shovel.
Oh, man.
And it's biting. And Junkins like, don't be a smart ass.
I had to laugh at that.
Arnie calls Lee, and but she's, after he's been so abusive and everything, she's made up her mind that this is over. And he's at first he's trying to
reconjure up what he lost with her.
Yeah, but then he goes into that explosive rage fit, and says, "Fuck you, bitch!"
Oh my gosh,
he's brutal,
violent.
He's very violent. And so the great death of Buddy Repperton.
Man, what an iconic scene this is, though.
They're hanging out at this gas station. One of Buddy's friends works there. Christine comes barreling down right into Buddy's car, and she's pulling away. She's pulling part of the
car with her.
Yeah, it is like some like prehistoric creature tackling its prey.
Right.
What is it?
The gasoline pumps in the back of the car start leaking out. But Christine literally, once she damages the Mustang, she takes it back with her, then rams into one of Buddy's buddies. Kills him while leaking the gasoline tank into the whole entire gas station.
And then that one guy is just looking at the gasoline,
and he's like, "Well, I'm fucked." Basically,
yeah. The whole place goes up, and meanwhile, Buddy's already taken off on foot.
Right.
And after the explosion, Christine comes out, and she's ablaze.
The scene of the movie, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's a beautiful scene, and it's so simply shot, but it's so effective.
Right.
Another avoidable death. Buddy is running right in the middle of the road. While this car, Christine might be going 30.
Tops.
If it had been going any faster, you wouldn't have seen the flames as easily. So you can tell it's just kind of cruising, but it's going in for the kill, like kind of savoring the moment.
Right.
And the music is amped up. We get closer and closer to Buddy and runs right over him, and then he falls back.
In flames.
That's a great scene.
It's a beautiful...
And as you see Christine driving away, still in flames.
Beautifully done.
It's great. It's a great victory.
John Carpenter, what an OG.
He is. He's amazing.
The guy.
So Darnell is at the shop. Christine rolls in, and it's smoking. It's
trashed.
It's completely trashed. It's ashen and everything. It's completely toast. I can't believe that it's even rolling. And Darnell isn't convinced that this is Arnie driving.
Right, because he immediately gets on that phone.
Yeah. Grabs a shotgun.
Yes.
He goes to investigate, and then realizes that there's nobody in there. Nobody's in the car. And so he decides to sit down in it.
Just, I ask myself, why do you want to sit down in that car?
Yeah.
It's not even like polished and waxed.
It's a smoking heap at this point.
It's trashed.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good inside there.
But you brought something up earlier before we started about the allure of Christine, like why people want to go sit in the car.
Right.
Because the guy at the very beginning of the movie
decided to sit in the car.
He just wanted to go sit in it. And
it's
I find that very, very interesting.
Yes.
Because not only is it not explained, but there's really no logical reason why. It's just that there is something seductive about Christine.
Yes. Do you know? Have you followed the Poison Ivy Batman kind of thing? Where Poison Ivy has this potion.
Oh yeah,
and she spews it out, and the Batman falls into this seductive trap with poison. The same thing with Christine.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the paint job. The aroma of the paint job. Yeah, maybe. But honestly, you're right. It's seductive.
It is seductive, and I think it's not only the aesthetic of Christine, but it's something else. It's what like a snake charmer kind of it's just this unconscious draw or pull to the car. Darnell, for some reason, just wanted to go sit in this car that's just been on fire.
Right.
And he's just not really doing anything.
He's enjoying himself in the car.
Yeah, and it's almost like he's not possessed, but I can't think of the word. Maybe mesmerized or...
Because he starts feeling the steering wheel and very, very laid back. I can sit here for a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think we both realized once he sat in that seat that he wasn't getting out of it.
Why do you think she kills Darnell? For the record, the seat starts coming up and it crushes him to death, basically. But why do you think she killed him?
Part of me feels like earlier in the movie, he was basically calling her a piece of trash, that it can't be fixed, while Arnie was trying to fix it kind of thing. And what do you think?
My theory is that she didn't know Darnell was working late, and he saw her.
Very true.
He saw her.
He saw her for who she was.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he wasn't all that surprised either when he went to sit in it. He just she knew that he's got to go because he knows too much.
Right. Exactly. Oh, I think that's very accurate.
So she's not only protecting herself, she's protecting Arnie.
Right.
And so Junkin shows back up. Harry Dean Stanton's got a cigarette, as he always does. He's waltzing through this movie. Finds out Arnie was indeed gone while all this happened with Buddy and Darnell. He's got a solid alibi. He's running errands for Darnell. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is when he says that in all honesty, he doesn't know what's going on. Lee calls Dennis' son New Year's. And in the book, they actually fall in love.
Well, you could gradually see in the movie.
Yeah, they play it down a little bit, but it's there.
It's there. It's definitely there. Like Dennis finally gets his chance, right?
Yeah. I don't miss that lovey-dovey part because it gets a little annoying in the book, but it's ultimately what makes Arnie and Christine go after Dennis and Lee because he was betrayed by his best friend and his girlfriend. So Arnie picks up Dennis and Christine for a little ride. Dennis comes out in his crutches and his leg brace. I forget what Dennis calls Christine, rust bucket or something.
Yes,
I don't know.
Yeah, very much along those lines. Yes.
And Arnie very sternly says, "Better watch what you call my car. She's very sensitive." And he's like, "Sorry, Christine."
Yeah. Dennis. Oh, okay.
And
whatever.
And when Dennis says that very sarcastically, "All right, Christine," Arnie's like, "Good boy." And he's
serious about it.
He's very serious, and but he still has that very not condescending, but I mean he tells his best friend, "Good boy." It's like he's not just like commanding attention, or it's also a show of dominance, but it's he sees everybody as kind of inferior now.
Yes, like a totalitarian kind of dictatorship. Like I'm in power, no one else is. Yeah, and this is my world, and I'm going to run it how I want.
Exactly. It's him and Christine and the shitters of the world.
Right. Exactly.
And so there's nothing else more important. And that's when Arnie says, "Let's motivate," and they take off. That's the little babe quote from the book.
Well, Lee in this scene runs when she sees that car. Kind of like she's scared.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Hides behind the tree.
Yeah.
And, I hope it doesn't see me kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point because like in the book, there's a moment like before the showdown that Dennis tells his parents and Lee's parents and Arnie's parents to basically get together and stay put while Dennis goes to take care of killing Christine. And because, like he said, I don't want you out on the road, I want you outside. That also shows that Christine is watchful and can be out there looking for you.
Right.
Cruising the streets.
Right.
It is New Year's Eve, and so Arnie produces a few cans of Southern Cross beer for them to share so that while they drink and drive in a car that has no seatbelts, by the way, that we'll find out...
Yeah.
Why that could be a problem. So they say, let's have a toast. Arnie says, to death, to the shitters of the world. And then this is kind of, you can tell he's really uncomfortable.
He's very uncomfortable.
Arnie, I can't drink to that. It's like, what about friendship? And Arnie's like, oh, that's good.
And
that's good.
Total sarcasm, you could tell.
Yeah. You can tell that, and again, going back to the point about everybody else is inferior, that his friendship obviously means nothing anymore. And so I'm really curious as to why they're even together at this point. Like why would Christine even allow Dennis in the car? And because the Arnie that Dennis knew is gone.
Completely
gone. So I don't really know what purpose this serves other than for us to hear Arnie's philosophy about the whole situation, like kind of where his mind is at. And I love this. I love this scene. And also, by the way, I apologize. I have had way too much coffee today, and I'm getting excited. Dennis notices the odometer. It's moving
backwards, right?
Yeah, right.
Taking off the years, getting younger. Kind of a Benjamin Button kind of feel to this.
It does. And funny enough, Stephen King said that's what gave him the idea for the story anyway, is that he was in his little Ford Pinto or something, the car he bought with the money he got from Carrie, and he thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if the odometer just started going backwards and the car got younger? That could be a funny short story.
Oh man! But I do want to point out that I feel like Arnie as a character was the epitome of his acting during this movie, in my opinion, because you see him go from 0 to 1,000 in emotion.
Oh, absolutely, he has good instincts. I think that, I'm not sure if he even read the book, or of course they had the screenplay, but there's so much that he does that really brings his character to life. There are only so many characters that I find are believable as their own people. Like you fail to see the actor, you see the character. And that's kind of what I was trying to get at when we were talking about Drop Dead Fred and Rick Mayall being really creating Fred as a believable character.
Right.
And I think I almost called him Arnie. Keith Gordon does that with Arnie. He is completely living in Arnie's world in that scene, in those scenes. So Arnie says, "Let's not kid each other, Dennis. Let me tell you a little something about love, Dennis." And his eyes, when he says that, his eyes get wide,
very big.
Yeah,
he just stares at the road this whole time.
Yeah,
in front of him.
He is so in the in the zone, auto zone. he is, but he's getting amped up. Like I think his eyes go wide when he says, "Let me tell you a little something about love, Dennis." Is that he is in ecstasy over this relationship he has with this car.
Right.
And he is so, like, that rage or that source of energy he has welling up in him, like it's building. It's building. It's like he's just flushed with adrenaline or something.
Yes.
He says, talking about love, he says, it has a voracious appetite. It eats everything. Friendship, family. It kills me how much it eats. But I'll tell you something else. You feed it right, and it can be a beautiful thing. And that's what we have. When someone believes in you, man, you can do anything. You can do anything in the entire universe. And when you believe right back in that someone, then watch out, world, because nobody can stop you. Not ever. And Dennis is like, are you talking about, is that how you feel about Lee?
Oh, and then he just gets this menacing laugh. It's like,
fuck no. I'm
talking about Christine, man. Golly.
No shitter ever came between me and Christine. This is what LeBay said about his brother when he got the car. He said no shitter ever came between him and Christine. And he said, oh man, there's nothing finer than being behind the wheel of your own car. Except for pussy.
You need every single time that line is said, you just.
Well, he says it with such delight,
yes,
and just kind of gross delight. It's that the LeBay delight. It's that kind of gritty, nasty. I like seeing dirty things. You know?
Well, it's the facial expression too.
Yeah,
because he's like alive before he says it. After he says, being behind the wheel of your own car, or there's nothing between me and Christine, or the smell of a new car, like LeBay said, it's that exciting emotion. Then when they say, except maybe for pussy, it's that little lustful grin,
Yeah, it is
like,
that.
It's like, I've been around the world and I've been with every girl imaginable, and
yeah,
screw you, Dennis.
Well, what's funny about it is that, as far as we know, Arnie hasn't been with a woman.
Exactly.
Because at the beginning of the movie, Dennis says, "I think it's time we get you laid this year." And I don't think that
Lee was very conservative.
She was, yeah. So it's very unlikely that he
ever even had sex. Yeah, right.
So for him to say that, like, how would he know?
Exactly, and that's when you know. Light bulb. Ring a ding ding.
So that does really make a case for this kind of ghost of LeBay in the background, or that influence.
Right in the back, it's just
yeah.
You don't see it, but you know it's there.
Wow,
Carpenter's the man.
It's a man. Wow. So we go to the climax at Darnell's. Dennis scratches or etches in the hood of Christine. Darnell's tonight. It's like, we're going to finish this. We're going to duke it out. And so Lee and Dennis conspire against Arnie. They go and they've got a bulldozer, and they're going to get Christine there so they can, and hopefully put a stop to this. In the book, it wasn't a bulldozer. It was like a pink, like a shit pumper truck named Petunia.
Out of all things.
Out of all things. On paper, it kind of works because you're like, that's a fun little detail. You don't think about it. Like, in your mind's eye, you don't think about this pink shit truck battling with this 58 Plymouth. And so, they battle for a bit, I guess you'd say. Lee is in this she might be in Darnell's office or something.
I think
and
so.
She's looking out the window. Mm-hmm. And Dennis is having trouble because his leg is in a brace and he's trying to operate the clutch and everything. And so he's having just some problems getting around or maneuvering the bulldozer. Every jab they take at Christine, she just keeps coming back, rebuilding and unbuckling. And then there's a scene where we see Arnie behind the wheel.
And the light effect.
Yes.
That's...
You got that glow of the instrument panel, and there's something very skeletal and menacing about his face. Like, his eyes, around his eyes are dark.
Right.
And he just looks like a shell of a person.
Not even human. It's just...
Yeah.
Like a ghost.
Like a ghost, exactly. Yeah, it's a very haunting image.
Yes.
And of course, up to this point, we weren't really sure if Arnie was in the car or not.
Right, because it was the tinted windows.
Yeah. And so he guns it at Darnell's office and aiming for Lee, and then the impact catapults him through the windshield because there's no seatbelt.
There's no seatbelt.
And this scene still gets to me. There's a little jump scare here when Lee's trying to check things out, and Arnie
just grabs her.
And he slides down. And he pulls this huge hunk of glass out of his gut. And it just sounds so painful. And
yes.
Right. And he's not looking at Lee. He's not looking at Dennis. All he can look at is Christine. And he gently just pets the hood ornaments and stuff. And then he passes away.
Right.
And Christine's headlamps go out.
I think that was a nice effect to that.
It was mourning.
Yes.
It was grief. It was, again, it's the emotional qualities we attribute to
the intimacy.
And the intimacy of an inanimate object. It takes a moment before it starts back up again, but it's renewed fury
and revenge. Right.
Yes. To sum up the climax, the bulldozer eventually crushes Christine.
Multiple times.
And for a while, I was thinking, okay, this isn't working, Dennis. It just keeps regenerating. Eventually, the bulldozer is able to overtake Christine and just run right over it, smashes it flat. And then, boom, slam cut to the junkyard. Christine is this cube of metal that's dropped into the junkyard. And see who's left. So we got Lee and Dennis, and Junkins is there. we hear this one of the 50s songs playing, and there's this moment where he's like, it's back. And then we see these two guys pop out, these workers with cigars and everything, with a boombox on the shoulder, very, very late 70s. And those people are actually, it's the screenwriter, Bill Phillips and George Thorogood. What is it Lee says? I hate rock and roll.
I just thought that was
rock
cute.
And roll.
Yeah.
Then there's just that long shot of part of the grill of Christine. We just slow zoom on it and it just bends a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And then we go back to right into Bad to the Bone, and it's over. And that's Christine. The ending in the book was much different. Arnie wasn't there for it. He was actually with his mother and was battling the ghost of Roland D. LeBay, and they have a car accident, and the car explodes, killing them both. All the Cunninghams die in the book. The end of the book, there is a mention of, as they were putting the remains of Christine in the crusher, that one of the workers said that the car bit him.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Oh, that was cool.
That is cool.
And Dennis, he's narrating this, and Lee and I, we send each other birthday cards, but she's married out in Arizona or something.
Wow.
And with kids, and he writes her saying, "How are you dealing with it?" And she wrote back, "Dealing with what?" So it's almost like we don't acknowledge that this happened. And then it says that even though he and Arnie were best friends, he said every day he starts fading like a photograph. He doesn't think about Arnie all that much. But he still has dreams about seeing Christine. And there was a report that one of Repperton's crew that got away was run down in a mysterious hit and run. And so
you know exactly
that it's Christine lives, you know?
Man.
I know we normally talk about what we like and what we didn't like, but I think we pretty much covered that before we even got to that. Yeah. We were both so excited to talk about it. Oh. So what value does this movie still have? I'll just give my 2 bits. Is obviously there's still a lot of cultural significance for this movie. It's beautifully shot. It's a great movie that you can just put on and get something new out of it every time.
Right. I definitely agree. Yes. So many iconic things that happen during this movie with emotion, with cars, with the attachment to cars, because that hasn't died. That's why it can still live, is because of how we can be attached to our cars, or the feeling of obsession, of passion, of love. Everything that we feel is still much alive today. And so I definitely agree that is one of the reasons why this movie will still have value today.
Absolutely.
For sure.
It definitely does a lot with multiple layers of nostalgia. Nostalgia.
Yes.
Like now looking back, nostalgia for the 80s, but also in 1978, nostalgia for the 50s. And so you've got these really great cultural moments that are all kind of tangled together.
It's powerful.
Yeah. So that's all we got for today, folks. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Next week, we are going to be talking about Forrest Gump. We'll be sending him off to Vietnam.
With some bubblegum shrimp.
Bubblegum shrimp. Yeah, we'll see Lieutenant Dan exercising his arms and
some box of chocolates.
So if you have questions for us, feedback on the show, you can shoot us an email at vericonvideo@gmail.com. You can leave a message for us on the Vericon Video hotline at 312-620-5560. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, like us there. You can go to our website at www.vericonvideo.com. Drop us a line, let us know what you think of the show so far. We also have merchandise, TeePublic. The link is on the website. It's teepublic.com/user/propworks, PROPWERX, but you might just want to go to the website for the link. Check us out on Patreon. Become a supporter of the show. Depending on the tier that you choose, you can get exclusive content like bonus episodes, merchandise, or maybe even to join us for an episode. Check that out on patreon.com/VericonVideo. So yeah, that's it, everybody. We hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll see you next week to chat about another exciting movie from the rental era. So goodbye.
Peace out, guys.
Goodbye, Vietnam! That's right. I'm history. I'm out of here. I got the lucky ticket home, baby.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jenny.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle. Bye-bye.
Do take good care of yourself.
What is this, your farewell speech?
Going home.
Have a good trip.
Hasta la vista, baby.
I have to go.
Adieu, auf Wiedersehen, Gesundheit.
See you